Great. So we're going to have Mary Filando, who is a registered dietitian and nutritionist and clinical lipid specialist. She's also on our medical advisory board, and she's going to talk to us about having some healthy holidays, FCS style. We know the holidays can be a cause of some stress and anxiety for people, so we always look forward to what she has to share with us. Thank you, Mary.
Thanks, Melissa, and thanks, everyone. Good to be here this morning. And I guess we are going to be having a little bit of a different kind of holiday this year. And I'm trying to, okay, I'm controlling. Let me make sure I can change my slides. Yeah. Yeah, so a little bit different kind of holiday this year, and one where we may not have as many people around us. So in a way, it's a great time for you to test recipes, and you're not testing them on, you know, 45 different friends and relatives. Maybe you're just going to be having 4 or 6 or 8. So people are more forgiving if things don't turn out. So it's a good time to try some new things this year. And what I'm going to talk about today is just to review the general recommendations. Some of you were on calls before and we've gone over these. So want to just, briefly do that and take a look at the 2020 nutrition label, a little bit more about MCT oil. I don't know how many people use that, but we'll give you some information about that. Thanksgiving feast, how you can quickly change the high fat items into low fat, and strategies to minimize the overwhelm, and how to modify your own recipes. We did not get an FCS patient recipe featured, so we will just be using one of mine. And then it's a good time to create new holiday traditions. Just remember that everything we talk about today are general recommendations, and your healthcare providers know you better than anyone. So test anything with them. Ask them if this is something that works for your particular case. Um, so food plan wise, we have the recommendations that were put forth by Williams et al. In a paper from 2018 in the Journal of Lipidology. And this is an overview of that, but we've given you the paper in case you are seeing a new healthcare provider, you can give that information to them so that they can see what kind of eating styles recommended. And you know better than I do that, up to 20 grams of fat a day, include a source of linoleic and alpha linolenic acid, which could be something like your chia seeds or milled flax, because those fatty acids are not made in your body but need to be provided. Select your lean proteins that you're familiar with. Enjoy generous portions of vegetables. I think if there was one thing we could all do for a New Year's resolution is just to fill half our plate with vegetables, or think about some different vegetables that we might enjoy and make them main dishes rather than side dishes. Choose more whole grains like oatmeal, whole wheat bread and pasta, brown rice, and even looking towards some of the newer whole grains like farro and quinoa, and avoiding the refined grains like white bread, white crackers, and white rice. You have lots of things to use as far as the fat-free dairy products go: milk, yogurt, cottage cheese, sour cream, and cheese. Minimize soda and added sugars. And I think this will be a little bit easier in 2021 because a lot of the processors are giving us newer products that are made without added sugars. Eliminate alcohol and balance your food and fat intake throughout the day. Don't, save it all for dinner or for that special evening meal. Try to balance things out, and also balance the calories and activity to maintain a healthy weight. Some people have to try to even eat more calories to maintain a better weight because they get a little too thin with a lot of the recommendations. And then drink plenty of water to stay hydrated, because being hydrated can decrease your chances of having pancreatitis. So this was something we used on the FCS Focus webinar for our holiday last year or the year before, but it's just a kind of way to put that all together. If you're a visual person, this is what a good FCS plate should look like. And then, in 2020, we got our new nutrition label, which was helpful. And the things that were the same is, well, a little bit different, the serving size, because serving sizes are more realistic. For instance, ice cream used to be a half a cup, but who was really eating a half a cup of ice cream? So they look at how people were eating and they said, you know what, it's more realistic to think of it as 2/3 of a cup. So everything is a little bit different serving sizes. Next, of interest is the grams of fat. So be sure to, look at that, that. But the new for 2020 was really these grams of added sugar, so that you can look at products like barbecue sauce and ketchup and some of the things and sort of get an idea of how much added sugar is in a product, where before it was hidden because this information wasn't there. And because the information's there now, they know that you're looking, so they are looking to provide products. I was surprised when I went to the store and I could see no added sugar chocolate syrup and no added sugar barbecue sauce and different things that I hadn't seen before. So hopefully we'll be seeing more products like that in the future. What manufacturers are also looking at is how they can use these sugar substitutes or um, products that are sweet that don't provide any calories. So this is kind of a 101 thing. And I really wasn't as up on things because there's so many new things on the market. I could do an hour lecture just on sugar substitutes. But quickly, and again, if you're going to use a sugar substitute, talk to your physician to see what's right for you. There are different recommendations for different people. So we have the artificial sweeteners that you're familiar with, the pink, the blue, and the yellow. And I look toward, it's called Center for Science and the Public Interest, and they're a group that kind of looks as watchdog on the FDA and the different additives and kind of give us an idea if they think these are healthy or not. And they really have given all of these things a no-go. So that's why I think manufacturers like Splenda are now having Splenda with stevia, because that's a more natural sweetener that's been given more of an okay than these products to the left. So next we'll look at some non-artificial sugar sweeteners, and the ones like sorbitol and mannitol and erythritol. They have been around, and particularly erythritol I'm seeing a lot more now. It was approved in 2001. It is considered a very safe food additive at this time, and it's different from sorbitol and mannitol because they are metabolized and fermented in the GI tract and can give you gas or diarrhea. So, I went the wrong way. So that is something that, of course, already have issues with your stomach. You would not want to be using these products. But erythritol, it is absorbed directly into the bloodstream and excreted unchanged, so it's not fermented by bacteria. It's not as sweet as sugar, but it adds bulk and mouthfeel. So a lot of the new sweeteners, as you see the stevia and the monk fruit, these sweeteners are being combined with erythritol to give it a bulking agent, because stevia over in the next part is 300 times sweeter than sugar, and monk fruit extract is 200 times sweeter. So it's just like these things are so sweet that they would almost not even fill up the sugar packet. So they have to add the bulking agent in of the erythritol. Of these, stevia has been given a green light to say that at this time they feel that it is considered very safe. But no, that's not totally natural, because in the beginning in Paraguay, they used plant leaves to sweeten things. Now, of course, they are using some processing to get this into the sweetness. The same with the monk fruit. It was a melon in Southeast Asia, and it has been around for a while, but now it's getting into our food, and it is approved by FDA, but it still maybe needs more testing. But what was interesting as far as the monk fruit goes is that when I did use this for my pumpkin pie, it was absolutely delicious. You measure it just like sugar. And in fact, I had to decrease the sugar when I used the monk fruit, it was the Libby's pumpkin pie was 3/4 cup. I only used 2/3 of a cup because the 3/4 cup was just too sweet. And I like sweet things, so it was just way too sweet. So it's an interesting thing to try with your baking products. And then there are blends like Truvia and I think Splenda, they have blends where they blend in some sugar with some of the sugar sweeteners. So they still provide added sugars, but less than regular sugar would. And you use the amounts that are listed. So it's just kind of, we have some new things to try maybe with some of your products and your recipes. Okay, what about MCT oil? So this has been around for a long time. And I noticed that people with FCS in other countries use MCT oil a lot more than we do here in the US. MCT is medium chain triglycerides, and there are only two safe ones, caprylic and capric acid. So if you were looking at a label, you want to be sure those are the only two. This oil is safe for people with FCS because it's absorbed directly into the portal circulation and does not require lipoprotein lipase. Don't confuse it with coconut oil, though, because coconut oil has MCTs plus long chain fatty acids. So when you go to health food stores or even your pharmacy section, they'll say MCT oil, coconut oil, and they use them interchangeably. But that is not okay for someone with FCS. It's recommended that we use a pharmaceutical grade of MCT oil. And just know that if you just go on Amazon, it is not regulated for content. The FDA does not look at what's in that bottle. As long as it doesn't do any harm, it is considered safe. So they could say it has only MCTs when maybe it doesn't. A healthcare professional can tell you about it and maybe write a letter to help you with reimbursement, because 6 bottles of this, and it's quart-sized bottles from a company that would be considered pharmaceutical grade. 6 bottles are $399, so that's a lot of money, and that's the pharmaceutical grade. And note that it is not a source of essential fatty acids. So some people think that it is, and they would take it instead of maybe having a little bit of flax meal or um, yeah. So how do you use it if you're deciding to try it? Then introduce it gradually, because if you take too much of it all at one time, it can cause pain, nausea, and vomiting. Start with a teaspoon a meal per day, move up in the next couple days, add another teaspoon. Work with your dietitian to determine what's the right amount for you. And it can be added to smoothies. It can be used as salad dressings. You can use it even to brush on a fat-free pizza crust. And to keep foods from sticking to pans or grills, but it is not used for like wok frying or very high heat, because it has a low smoke point and burns easily and gets a bitter taste. So use at low to medium temperatures. And for baking, it's recommended that you stay at 325, although the company that makes this did have some recipes for 350. So I think, we could try it, but try to keep the oven at 325 or less. Okay, I happen to be getting my flu shot at CVS Pharmacy, and I saw right next to me was, a lot of different products, and this MCT oil was there. So in big letters, it says MCT oil, and then it's derived from coconut oil, which most of them are. But is this something that you would buy? So I'm going to, let you look at this label. A tablespoon has 130 calories and 14 grams of fat. But if you have FCS, you really wouldn't count. If this was all MCT oil, you do not need to count it as grams of fat, because it is not the long chain fats that you guys are have trouble with. So let's take a look. And, we want to look at the medium chain triglycerides. And what do you think about that? It has one medium chain triglyceride that's really not considered a medium chain triglyceride for FCS. It has lauric acid in it. So this would not be a good product. If you wanted to take a photo of something that you see and ask your own dietitian or physician, is this something you think I can try? But really the best thing is go to something like the Nestle Nutrition Store and buy an MCT oil that is 100% pharmaceutical grade. Okay, let's take a look at our own recipes and think about how we would modify them. So target a favorite recipe or two beginning a few weeks ahead of the holiday and practice with it. Have it as something that you're going to have for your regular meal, but see how everybody likes it. So first focus on recipes that are no added fats or oils. Those are really easy ones that you can just omit. Like if you look at a stuffing recipe and it has a stick of butter in it, if you use no butter and use a little extra broth, it's still going to be moist and would work pretty well. If it's in other recipes like loaf, cake, or muffins, you could replace the oil 1-to-1 with unsweetened applesauce or non-fat yogurt. You can also do it with pureed dates or pureed prunes or other things that absorb water from the atmosphere, can make a loaf cake or a muffin very soft and moist. You just don't want it to be dry. You can also replace the oil for oil and salad dressing. So you can use your MCT oil in a salad dressing recipe or for a recipe that uses low to medium heat. For instance, if I was making a stuffing, I could saute my celery and onions in MCT oil over low to medium heat and use that for the rest of my stuffing. So I'm going to have a little bit more fat, but it will be fat that an FCS person could metabolize easily. Next, you're going to look, okay, so that was the fats and oils. Then you're going to look to see what is it? Is it wheat flour? Is it white flour? Wheat flour, white flour, pretty much the same thing unless it says 100% whole wheat. So your next goal is to make all the grains whole and see how that can be. I like to use, instead of whole wheat flour, I use the white whole wheat flour because it's not a strong flavor and it works perfectly. And it's, as far as you're concerned, it is a whole wheat. So that's a good product if you don't have a bag of that in your pantry. Go get some and try that the next time you make your muffins or your loaf cake or another baked item. You can also try, of course, brown rice and make pilaf with farro or quinoa or whole wheat couscous. And also whole wheat breadcrumbs are really good for, your oven fried products. I love to just take, even a breast of turkey and then cover it in fat-free ranch dressing and then cover it in whole wheat breadcrumbs or whole wheat panko and bake it in the oven. And that tastes really good. Stretch your starch recipes like stuffing by adding more vegetables. So you're decreasing the starch content, but you're increasing the vegetable content of whatever it is. And then eliminate added sugars like sugar, syrup, molasses, corn syrup, even honey and agave are not okay for someone with FCS. But try some of the available sugar substitutes or sugar-free versions of syrup and jam. So try the monk fruit in a baked recipe and see how that turns out for you. So Thanksgiving is kind of an easy meal to make, fat-free and healthy, because it starts with the big bird himself. And, that's already a great, 1 gram fat for 3 ounces of animal protein is a great deal. So be sure to buy the unbasted turkey and then baste it with fat-free broth. And before eating, remove the skin. You are allowed to keep the skin on when you're cooking it because they don't think that the skin actually infiltrates the flesh that much, but does keep it moist. But to be on the safe side, if you prefer, then take the skin off of one side for the person with FCS. and enjoy that. For gravy, I never made gravy myself at home, but there are the fat separator gravies. But we usually will get like the commercial fat-free gravy by Heinz or one of those products, and use that for people that like to have gravy. For your dressing, just cut up whole wheat bread. I do that all the time, and it works great because with the turkey breast so good, especially that half like Jenny-O turkey breast that we use and put that in the crock pot. We'll have Thanksgiving dinner several times, even in a month because that turkey is so good. But then you want to have a little stuffing and just cut up your whole wheat bread and use the fat-free broth and add lots of onion and celery and all your regular ingredients for your dressing. But you can either saute in the MCT oil and bake at 325, or you would just use your broth to saute and then bake at whatever temperature you want to for your dressing. Your mashed potatoes, you can use like Molly McButter butter sprinkles and skim milk or fat-free broth. Some people put fat-free sour cream in to give it a little bit more creaminess. So those are good suggestions. Green beans don't need to be in a big greasy casserole, with all kinds of uh, crunchy onions on top. You can either just have beautiful, fresh steamed green beans with herbs, or make your casserole with, healthy request cream of mushroom soup. And even if you need some crunchies, one nut that is crunchy that is not does not have any fat is a uh, let's see, Chinese, not a chestnut, but though chestnuts do not have any fat either. But you can use not bamboo shoots. What's the word I'm thinking of? But I know you guys are all muted. But anyway, you can use those. I'll think of it in a little bit. For cranberry sauce, go ahead and cook your fresh cranberries yourself with a stevia-based sugar substitute for a little sweetness, or put some orange rind in, and try doing your own cranberries. Yams, you can use a touch of the sugar-free. I saw so many sugar-free maple syrups now. And then a little cinnamon. Just baked yams taste good. Um, yeah, Sarah's saying, is it a water chestnut? Yeah, it is a water chestnut. Sorry. Yes. Thank you, Sarah. Water chestnuts in the can, chopped up and put into your green bean casserole. Really good. So sorry about that. Okay, back to salads. Fat-free mayonnaise is still around and pretty easy to find by Kraft is the one that I see, but you could use any of your non-fat yogurt or Greek yogurts or your fat-free dressings to make salads. Sugar-free gelatin is a great start of any of the gelatin desserts that someone would want to have, and put in unsweetened pineapple, fresh cranberries, and celery, and make your own kind of gelatin desserts. I made that fabulous pumpkin pie crustless, which was really good. And if you have kids, I mean, pumpkin is a great vegetable and it's full of vitamin A and beta carotene. So there's no reason that, I mean, this could be a wonderful breakfast even, because all it was made with is evaporated skim milk and egg whites. And then I use the monk fruit and put it into little custard cups. And if you want to, you can crumble up some low-fat graham cracker on top if somebody wants that little crust feel. For fruit-based desserts, you can make cobblers with apples, oats, and stevia-based sugar sub, cinnamon. You can also bake apples and pears, and those are good. And then offer spa water and mocktails, diet tonic, and soda water with lime are good choices. Next, this was a recipe that I've made probably for about 25 years, if you can believe it. Not this one, not the original recipe, because I don't make anything with butter and all that stuff. Anybody can make that taste good. The challenge is when you're making it healthy. And if it still tastes good, that is really the best part. So I transformed this recipe into one that used whole wheat flour. And instead of the butter and margarine, I used a cup of pinto beans, which I wash and drain and just put into the food processor with everything else. I used the applesauce instead of I put that in as a little bit of extra to make sure that it was going to be moist enough. And then vanilla extract and your spices. If you want to put raisins in, go ahead. If you want to make a half a pan with nuts and maybe half a pan without nuts, if you think people like the nuts and the FCS people would not use nuts. But this makes it, believe me, a really fabulous kind of, I put it in a brownie pan, and it goes from having 5.7 grams of fat to having 1 gram of fat, which only comes from the apple and the whole wheat flour and the beans, just as cell walls of those. No added fats at all for that recipe. So, how do we minimize the holiday overwhelm? And hopefully, with having less people over and less expectations for this pandemic holiday, maybe it will be a little bit better for us. But a sense of overwhelm can be really an FCS unfriendly eating trigger. So, if you have FCS, or live in a family with a person with FCS, it's really important to take a look at keeping things as least stress as possible and set yourself up for success. And setting yourself up for success starts with planning ahead. It's getting things out of the way. It's making your to-do list. It's staying ahead of schedule, because if you have FCS, you never know when you're not going to feel good. All of a sudden you're feeling poorly, and then that adds to the stress that you have. So prepare for the unexpected. There could be weather concerns, or hopefully not last minute company, because people should just stay outside and to keep themselves safe. So ask for help. I think that's the hardest thing for someone with FCS to do, is learn to say no gracefully. If somebody says, "Oh, can you bring this or that, or can you do this?" Just, practice no. Think about yourself and keeping yourself as low stress as possible. Realize that inappropriate eating is not going to solve any of the stress problems. And don't underestimate the power of a brisk walk to reduce stress. I mean, just being outside, seeing how pretty it is. I mean, for me, just looking at this picture makes me feel relaxed. Just that how beautiful it is with the fall leaves. Of course, we live in California. We don't have too many fall leaves here where I am, but just seeing that makes me feel good. And savor the true spirit of the holidays, which is friends and family, pandemic style. So this holiday is going to look a little bit different. Um, Strategies for being a guest. So if you are a guest in someone's home, there's things you can do to help be sure that you're eating the foods that you should be eating. And we're going to go over this quickly, because this will probably be more of a thing in 2021 when everybody gets their vaccine, but because maybe you're not going to be going to someone's house to be a guest. But if you were, you would call ahead, ask what's being served, explain that you cannot digest fat for sure, and then sugar, that part of it, you can decide what you want to do. The host may ask how they can assist you. Is it okay if you bring your own entree? That's probably the best thing. And now with the pandemic, people bringing their own food is a commonplace thing right now. Ask if you can bring a dish to share, and you make it something that you love, as an FCS friendly appetizer, like fat-free hummus with a crudité, or a side dish, or maybe one of your gelatin salads. That's a good holiday thing. Take the edge off your appetite before you get somewhere. Some people will say, "Well, I'm going out, so I want to be careful and have, some extra fat for the rest of the day." But really, that sets you up for failure, because you're overly hungry by the time you get there, and then you have less resolve to avoid some of those, high fat hors d'oeuvres and things. So a hearty fat-free soup, fat-free yogurt, having a half a turkey sandwich before you go, and a piece of fruit is always a good idea. And then you can relax and enjoy the company more. You don't have to feel like you're so hungry. Be sure before going anywhere, I'm sure you all are aware of your own state and local pandemic guidelines for holiday gatherings. Like here in California, they're telling us just to have to stay home if possible, and only enjoy the holiday with the people that you live with. If you're not going to do that, the most they suggest is having three households together, and some states are saying 5 people max. And but just know what's best for your area. If you're going to be a host, you have a lot more control. You determine the menu, you determine and you know what's in everything that you see on the table. Plan a special FCS friendly holiday dish that you really enjoy. And maybe this is something that you've been working on these last couple weeks. Serve festive holiday mocktails and just be sure to stay hydrated. If you're real busy and you're having someone over, you may be forgetting to drink. And that's why you ask for help. Get one special support person. Maybe it's your daughter, maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a best friend, to be that person who's there to watch and be sure that you are taking care of yourself. That's the help you need, particularly during cleanup when you're more susceptible to what I call FCS unfriendly nibbling. And just send guests home with leftovers. If they're attempting foods that you think, that will be around your house the next few days, give them out. Let them go home with everything. Now we're almost to the end. Enjoy the true spirit of the holidays, spending time with family and friends. And we know this year it may be via Zoom, and it may be other ways of enjoying. We're going to try to do everything outside around a fire pit and everybody have masks on. And maybe, it will be a little chilly even here in California, but it's going to be safer for everyone. And we're going to maybe have it in the daytime where it's a little warmer versus the nighttime. Take a night nature hike and walk around the neighborhood to admire holiday decor. Do a holiday carol sing along outside. Exchange homemade gifts. Share memories of past holidays. We keep it's kind of like a big Santa cookie jar that I put out right after Thanksgiving. And anybody that comes over can write down the date and their little papers inside, and of their memories of the holidays. And then each year we can take those out and remember, oh yeah, remember in 2006 when everybody got, I don't know, a Cabbage Patch doll or whatever it was, that was a good memory. So we can look through past holidays. Family photos and videos are a great way of doing that. And trim favorite family recipes to create new favorites that everyone can enjoy, because there's no reason that your best, fat-free stuffing recipe isn't going to be the thing that everybody likes, or your last, I don't know why it's not going here, because I had my favorite pandemic, 10 pandemic, as I'm controlling. You guys do that? It says my internet's okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. There's a note that said my internet was unstable. 10 pandemic foods to keep on hand, and these are good for snowstorms and everything. So you want to have your pantry filled with lots of water packed tuna and chicken breast, because those can be meals. The frozen Genio turkey breast is delicious, and it even comes with a fat-free gravy inside, and you could do it in the oven or in a crock pot. Ballpark makes smoked turkey franks. I don't think these, hot dogs are the healthiest thing in the world from many standpoints, but they do have 0 grams of fat, and they're good with some vegetarian baked beans for a backup situation, and they last a long time. Your fat-free cottage cheeses, your fat-free Greek yogurts, and all those things are good to have on hand. Fat-free egg substitute can be a meal if you're going to, make omelets and things like that for a meal. I don't know if you guys are eating those Kodiak cake. It's in the box that's in the back there in my little pantry section to the right on the screen, but they are 100% whole grain. There's 2 grams of fat in 3 pancakes and very low added sugar. But we're into these Kodiak cakes big time for a great breakfast. And if it's a tough time, it could be a dinner too. Whole grains like whole wheat couscous. They have Good and Gather at Target, but I know they have the 90-second farro a lot of places, and just saute some veggies and mix it up with the farro and a little bit of your fat-free broth, and you've got a great side dish. If you throw some beans in it, you've got a main dish. Whole wheat pasta, oatmeal, Wassa crackers, and brown rice. These things are good to keep on hand. Canned low fat chili beans. You know, if you, lots of the chili is great. But just double check to be sure it has no added fats, your regular beans, and then fat free soups. Like I've been eating that Anderson split pea soup, I know, for 30 years or so. That Anderson split pea soup, the one, it's not bacon in it or ham or anything. It's just the vegetarian one, and it's absolutely delicious and a good lunch on a cold day. Fat-free tomato sauce and salsa, popping corn stays around in your pantry forever, and just have one of those air poppers, flavored rice cakes, and last, to have some frozen veggies on hand, frozen fruit, because these are the things that are going to run out, and then your ground turkey breast in your freezer. And you could be set up, if you have these things, you could be set up for a good month, if needed, to keep yourself going and healthy during a time of tough to get food. So next, I think that's it. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. The FCS Foundation wishes you a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season. And this are some ornaments that are on my vintage aluminum Christmas tree. Thank you very much, and you all have a safe holiday.
Thank you, Mary.